Hey, so as per the title of the video, I'm just going to go over my adverse reaction I had to minoxidil. I'll try to keep it quick, but it's a long story. But yeah, essentially, I'll go back to the very start. So in 2016-17, I used finasteride, so another type of hair loss drug, so finasteride propecia. I used that for a month. I was taking a full tablet a day. I think the 5 milligrams. I'm not too sure though. I can't remember. But essentially, by the second day, I was noticing, severe side effects. So I was like, I continued it for a week. After that, I was like, nah, this is like, online it kept saying, like, you just got to persevere. But I was like, nah. So I cut the tablet in half for another week, and then quarters in the third week. By the fourth week, I was just like licking dust to, try get it to work. So subconsciously, I was just trying to, I was tapering. I was subconsciously tapering off, where I was really just trying to balance it out and get my sexual function back and get my hair to grow. But um, I ended up quitting that after a month. And I'd say, within 2 weeks, I was pretty much 100% back to full function. Um, Maybe my morning wood never returned exactly the same, but not anything noticeable. It was pretty much 100% back to normal. But again, I subconsciously tape it off, but it did have there was an effect on my androgens, or well, whatever it was, there was something there. Um, Fast forward a few months later, I started using Kirkland minoxidil. So essentially another type of minoxidil, 5% topical liquid. Now I was using this very irregular. So maybe once a day, twice a day, but I wasn't applying a lot. I was very inconsistent. I didn't have any adverse reaction from that minoxidil. Um, but again, it was very irregular and it was a liquid. And I think, I pretty much gave up on that because it was like I hated my hair being sticky and stuff. So I just gave up. Um, I fast forward to 2020, so 4 years later. So June 2020, 10 months ago, I brought another brand of minoxidil, so a 5% 5% topical foam, extra strength. And I was applying this like twice a day, sometimes once a day, but I was pretty regular with it. But this was the start of lockdown, so essentially, like, we're all starting to work from home. And then, I was using it for a month. I know I've used it before, no side effects. And then I started to notice I just felt weird. So something just felt off. My eyes were bright red, like bloodshot. My heart was acting weird, like palpitations. And then I couldn't get hard one day, and then it happened again, and then again, and then eventually I was fully impotent. And I was like Googling it, and it was like vitamin D. And then I had a blood test. My doctor was like, oh, you're slightly vitamin D deficient, but nothing serious. So I took some vitamin D. At this point, I'm still using minoxidil because I didn't make nothing clicked yet. And then I was like, maybe it's just working from home, like the stress, I don't know. And then, I was like, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. My body's not right. So I finally clicked that it was minoxidil. And I, looked online, everyone was like, it's so safe, blah, blah, blah. Until I finally found askpatient.com, which is like a medical website where people just put their review on and like drugs, so like SSRIs or antibiotics or just like penicillin or whatever. And there was hundreds of reviews from guys who've had the exact same adverse reactions with sexual dysfunction, and also psychological, so anxiety and stuff like that. There was a few in there. Some, discontinued use and recovered within a week or two. Some discontinued use and never recovered within 8-10 years. So at this point, I'm like freaking out. Now, as I mentioned before, I subconsciously tapered off finasteride, where with minoxidil, I just quit it cold turkey, thinking I'd just go back to normal. That's when everything just went to shit. Essentially, within 2-3 days, I was like, oh, I'm getting back to normal. I was like starting to feel better. By the fourth or fifth day, I just crashed. But I didn't even recognize it was a crash. I didn't recognize anything. So it started with, no libido, ED, watery semen, reduced sensitivity, no orgasm, just completely impotent. and with that came anhedonia and anxiety, just mentally brain fog. Just I wasn't there. And a few weeks passed by, and that's when I was starting to get really worried, and I had like numbness and tingling in my legs. And I was like, that's so weird. And I didn't know what was causing it. I had no idea. And like, I don't know why it didn't alert me sooner, but I just thought, I don't know. But I ended up losing sensation in my left foot, which to this day has somewhat returned, but it's still abnormal. And if I have a shower, it's just the weirdest feeling. The numbness and tingling then moved from my legs to my upper body, my arms, hands, chest. That then turned into like burning skin, like constant sunburn. Then at the same time, I was having muscle twitches and spasms that were very aggressive. So like my whole muscle would just twitch like crazy. I had prickling and muscle spasms all over my body. Um, then the scary part was the tremors. I developed a jaw tremor, so my jaw was just tremoring constantly. If I was holding my phone, my thumbs, or holding a book, both hands. So at this point, I'm thinking Parkinson's or MS or something. I went to doctors after doctor. No one had any idea. I went to emergency 5, 6 times. Again, nothing. I've had CTs or blood work, hormonal panel, everything just came back fine. That's when the system things just keep progressing. I developed tinea versicolor all over my body, so just spots everywhere, which relates to hormonal something going on. Then I have random body jerks, so my legs will just twitch or like just jerk or I'll just jerk. That's still going on. Pretty much that was about developing. Every week was like a different symptom. By the 6 months, that's when it got a bit scarier. So I woke up and I had floaters throughout my whole vision. So yeah, yeah. Then I also developed visual snow. So if you visual snow is like static analog TV. With that came after images. So if I look at something and look away, it'll follow that. Follow trails along. Starburst. If there's like a street lamp or something, it'll take over my whole vision. ETD, eustachian. I think it's eustachian tube dysfunction. So my ears pop. I get like vestibular migraines. I get like ice pick headaches. Just like my sinuses like are all clogged up. It's like all issues with near ear, nose, throat, which again is related to a chemical imbalance. Um, so basically, at this point, I've had psychological, sexual, and neurological issues. Most recently, the scariest one is now being um, connective tissue. So all my joints have started popping and cracking, and I just feel weaker, and it's getting harder to get up. I'm only 27 and I feel 90. Again, the mechanism of minoxidil isn't exactly known. It's a free radical, which I think it's done some toxin damage, and that's why I've got the loss of sensation in my foot. I'm not sure if the burning and tingling and all the other symptoms relate to the visual snow syndrome, or if it relates to toxin neuropathy, because minoxidil is a free radical. For instance, if on a cat, it'll kill cats automatically. Cats can't process it. Their bodies can't digest it, so it just kills the cats pretty much straight away. The mechanism of it isn't known, whether it affects. There was studies done on androgen receptors. Some say it inhibits 5-AR reductase type 2, whereas finasteride inhibits 5-AR reductase type 1 and 2. But whether that's it, there's mechanism isn't known, whether it affects neurotransmitters within the brain for blood vessels, gasotransmitters, whether it's an antagonist of something. No one knows. Essentially, the oral form of minoxidil regrows hair pretty much the same way as finasteride. The difference is that the oral form of minoxidil is extremely dangerous and has a black warning label. So it can only be prescribed by a doctor. It has to be monitored very carefully, and I think it has to be prescribed with something like fluid retention drug, like a beta blocker or something. I'm not too sure, but essentially it's a drug that, it's pretty dangerous. Along with that, some symptoms I forgot to mention was hypercusis. So I have extreme sound sensitivity, light sensitivity. My diastolic blood pressure has gone down by 10 points. So I think it's caused some kind of neurological dysfunction. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever get answers, but I just wanted to give a warning. It's if I could go back in time, if there was any warning I could have found or anything like that, and I could go back in time, I would do it in a heartbeat. I feel like this is, I've got permanent neurological damage from this drug. I don't know how much more it's going to progress or what's going to happen. But, I'm incredibly healthy. I don't smoke or drink or do drugs or anything like that. But for some reason it targeted something in my nervous system or my brain, and it's, I would recommend, staying away from all drugs, so saw palmetto, finasteride, any kind of endocrine, anything like that. Just stay far away from it. It's a wig or transplant, pretty much, hair transplant. I'm in a group chat of at least almost 100 other guys that are going through the same thing. Guys who, are displaying much more profound connective tissue issues, collagen. Others, guys who've had this issue going on 5-6 years. I'm only 10 months in. Some do recover, some don't. It's, but essentially my warning would be stay far away from it. If you do decide to use it, just be incredibly careful. Watch it. There's guys who do report these symptoms within 4 to 5 days. I also forgot to mention some other issues. So dry eye, dry mouth. I've been tested for autoimmune diseases, such like my ANA test was negative. So, a lot of it aligns with Sjogren's, but it's, I've seen neurologists and GPs, and I would just say, if I could go back in time, just if there was any kind of warning, just heed my advice and don't use this drug. And if you do decide to, just be incredibly careful and know that it definitely comes with risks. A lot of people say like, oh, it's a topical drug, it can't do any damage, but to counteract that, I would say, applied cyanide or radium on your forehead, on your head, your hairline, and tell me how that goes for you. It definitely affects something. It's a drug, and it definitely affects something. I tend to think most likely androgen, but I don't know. Thank you.